also advocating for federal resources in our district. One of the big issues that we have right now in Columbia County is that our Social Security office is closed. And this affects people in a lot of different ways. We think generally that it's the older generations that are interacting with Social Security. But again, back to anytime we have disaster victims, those people oftentimes lose their important documents that they have or may have, or they need those documents that maybe they lost a long time ago in order to get their life back in order. And when they don't have easy access to that, it creates a whole nother level of frustration and a barrier to them getting back up on their feet. I've spoken to our co-responder here in town, other various social service reps that are oftentimes take time out of their day to run constituents either up to Wilkes-Barre or over to Selinsgrove to access Social Security services that we had here in Bloomsburg for a long time. And it was closed under the guise of being renovated, but there's been no renovation done, and there's been no report as to when that may open. And I know that some of those things can be accessed online. And I've spoken to people about that as well, but that requires a certain level of comfort with being online, working with computers, and otherwise, two-factor authentication. Which even as someone who I particularly enjoy being online and feel pretty digitally aware of things, it can get very frustrating at times. If you've ever been locked out of a social media account, I think you can appreciate how difficult it can be sometimes to just prove that you're you when you've been using that thing forever. I can only imagine how frustrating that might be for someone who's not accustomed to that type of stuff. And oftentimes people will just give up and say, I'll figure another way to do it. Which in some instances might be all right, but certainly if you need a Social Security card, that's not. And a good example of that recently is I just had an interaction with, I had a piece of equipment go down in my business. A local company, regional company, was able to service it. But because it was an insurance type claim, they had all sorts, they're asking for pictures of the piece of equipment. They're asking for official write-ups of the repairs that were done. And then, for my loss of business, they want financial documents. And first of all, the contractor that took care of this, we're still writing invoices, and that's perfectly acceptable. The insurance company wants a little bit more. They're probably not the type that are going to sit and, put out a Word document necessarily. And the person that fixed the piece of equipment, they didn't, have even a digital phone or a digital camera to be able to email pictures for that. I went and took pictures of it myself. So, there's an instance where commerce itself can be delayed or otherwise complicated by everyone being on a different page. And then the bookkeeping part of it too, like, okay, I'm comfortable with, and I keep my books digitally, but if I were a small business that was doing everything with just a ledger or wasn't as comfortable with all these sorts of things, it would take me, I would say, 5 times as long to put together the information that I'm being asked for to just solve what is a pretty simple problem, because all the people that I'm interacting with on the insurance side of things assume that this is information that can be easily gathered and emailed. So getting everyone on the same page and recognizing that we have to meet people where they are is something that is really important that we can be advocating for on the state level and should be. And that's why the Social Security office being open to everyone, especially those in need, is important. And I understand that there's staffing there and other things, but as I pointed out, these people oftentimes are in a point of need in their life, and I think that we as our government deserve our government to respond to them better.